Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, my daily bulletin show where I bring to you stories and insights from recruitment owners, advisors, suppliers, and even investors on how we can all navigate through this pandemic that is COVID-19. Today, I'm joined by Craig Springett. Craig is the founder of Big Fish Recruitment, BFR, which is a specialist London-based Rec2Rec, which has been just over a year old. Craig's got an interesting story though, because he's not got a Rec2Rec background. He worked for Forks and Reese for a long time and built teams in multiple divisions from education to social care to construction. But he found that when he wanted to start a business, he didn't want to do it in any of those sectors. So he chose Rec2Rec. I'm really interested to see what Craig's got to say about the journey he's had over the last year and how he's finding the current state of the recruitment market. Before I get into the conversation, I just want to mention a little message from our sponsor, Rise Recruitment Ventures. Rise are founded by Alex Elliott and John Coxon, who are two industry heavyweights who've built and sold liquid personnel in 10 years and sold for over 20 million. They started Rise this year as a recruitment specialist investment business, helping new startups and early stage recruitment businesses grow and exit in less than 10 years. So they're putting in both capital, time, effort, and expertise to help people that they believe would probably be successful anyway, but be much, much more successful and much faster. They are looking at active investments right now. So if you're interested in finding out if you could be part of their portfolio, or even if you just want some advice, reach out via www.riserv.co.uk. Right, back to the show. Craig, welcome to the RAG Report.
Hi, mate.
It's good to have you in. We've just spent the last 5 minutes talking about how your quiff is now bigger than my quiff. Which if you're listening, you can't see it. If you're on YouTube, you'll know what we're talking about. But that is a hefty quiff. You should have called it Big Quiff Recruitment instead of Big Fish.
I look like Pepe Le Pew at the minute. I look like a bit of a skunk. Try to cut the sides. It's a horror show at the minute.
We've both stayed away from the coronavirus skinhead, but you've hacked away at the sides and back yourself.
I have, yeah, unsuccessfully.
We'll keep the camera on front on. Yeah, it looks.
Yeah,
cool.
I didn't go above here. That was basically as far as I went. So
yeah, stay front of camera and you look sharp.
Yeah,
Craig, look. Obviously, there's so much we can talk about. We've got 25-30 minutes. First question I ask everyone on the RAG Report: what the hell is your life like right now? And I want you to paint the picture. Tell us where you are, what you're up to. How is lockdown been for you?
Personal and professional, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a baby, so that's tough. She's one,
Okay.
Working from home. Anyone who tells me that they find it easy, or they've got this magic trick to being able to work and have a baby around, I'm calling them a liar, or I'm strangling them with jealousy of how they worked it out. It's so difficult. I take solace in the fact that it's a great level though. So there's lots of people in my position that are struggling with that. Same as COVID, it takes no prisoners. So it's been pretty difficult working from home. I mean, I can work from home anytime I want anyway. I own my own business, but I always prefer to go in and work.
Where do you base yourself normally?
So I'm in a co-working space in Shoreditch.
Right.
And that was one of the things that's been a godsend, is just coincidentally I started my business the same time as 6 other guys that we all started pretty much on the same month in the same co-working space, and we all sit together every day. There's lots of banter, and it's like going into work with an office full of guys. So it's been great. I mean, that was, we were sitting there on the Thursday before this happened, and lots of stuff on the news about COVID and what's going to happen, and we're all looking at each other saying, well, we're all right, it's fine, we're not really that bothered. Came in on the Friday, and I don't know if it coincided with, that was the day that the Premier League cancelled its matches.
Yeah.
And that's just when it just fell off a cliff, one by one, like dominoes. I've had this candidate that's been pulled, clients just pulled this candidate. We were just sitting there on the Friday thinking, what has happened here? So yeah, I mean personally, like everyone, my girlfriend's a teacher. My mum works in a care home. My girlfriend's dad is a doctor. My dad was in hospital for 6 days with COVID. So, like many people, been touched really personally by it. So, business-wise, like I'm honest. Anyone saying business as usual, not business as usual. I had 5 candidates that were either placed or still within rebate. Couple of those cancelled straight away. One still good. One I deferred the payment. One I had an agency that they tried so hard to keep that candidate on, but they just couldn't do it, and I was grateful to them for that, but it just didn't work. So I've managed to place 2 people during the lockdown. So look, I don't mind saying it's 2. That to some people they might go, only 2. Others might be thinking, how's he done 2? I don't really know what everyone else is doing, but I've done 2, and I'll take that. They've been on life science, so but I've got. The good thing is that positive is this week I've had loads of roles through. I feel like there's been a little bit of a turn in the confidence. It coincided a bit with Boris was a slightly bit more positive, wasn't he, last week? Saying we've passed the curve, and it seems to be that
he come out and said Sunday night. So by the time this is going to be aired after the Sunday, so if you're listening to this, you'll know what Boris says. We don't know because it's Friday. But Sunday night, talking about how we're going to break through the restrictions, how we're going to start to move forward. If the data over the last few days has said that there is enough evidence to suggest we are really moving out of the peak. What are you seeing? So you say there's more roles coming through, but let's go back a little bit, Craig, because I think you'll probably have seen what I saw. So first few weeks, the reaction of recruitment agencies, quite rightly, was protection mode, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to save bottom line revenue? How are we going to still keep top line revenue? We're going to use furlough scheme. We're going to make redundancies. And it was a really difficult time. Now, there was a lot of people in a boat like you, small one-man band, Rec2Rec, making a lot of statements on LinkedIn that, knee-jerk this and knee-jerk that. I actually didn't like or agree with that because I thought it's a clever ploy to get candidates, but it's also, you're going to piss off your future clients.
I shied away from those comments. That I didn't do any of those.
But what I'm saying is, what was it like from your side having conversations about recruitment? Did you get anyone on the phone? Were they just ignoring you? Like, what was it really like from a Rec2Rec perspective, trying to navigate the first few weeks?
Constantly speaking to candidates. The first few weeks, to be honest, the knee jerk, the candidates that came onto the market, I think everyone knows this, they were kind of the guys that maybe didn't quite have a year's experience. They were the guys that were last in, so they were first out. So the market was flooded, but with guys that I couldn't really help because how things were, clients were saying they wanted people they're not going to press a button on an invoice to me unless they get a guy that's got 3 years experience and is billing 160, 170. So there's this whole catch-22 where there's all these guys I'm speaking to, and as much as I could to help them, I have them all ready to speak to when things turn around. I'm constantly in contact with them as well. I'll try and make sure I do that with all the people I speak to, but I've not been able to help them. Can't. But I mean, look, my thing would be if you look, at first the stigma's gone from being furloughed. So at first it was a little bit like, I've been furloughed. There might be a bit of embarrassment there. That's gone because actually, if you're furloughed, you're probably one of the lucky ones. Agencies have kept their A team and they've kind of furloughed the rest. However, if you have been furloughed and you are not speaking to somebody like me at the moment, it has to be me. Hopefully it will be me, but if it's not me, if you're not speaking to somebody like me, then you're crazy. Because once we get to June, July, and the furlough scheme essentially could end, you could be without a job and you haven't been speaking to people like me or putting tentacles out there to make sure that you're set if that does happen to you. Me, knowing the market as I do, if I was on furlough, I would be speaking to maybe a select 2 Rec2Rec to just let them know that what I might be looking for if the worst happens. And look, if then the furlough finishes and you go back to your agency and it's great, well, no harm done. But if you're on furlough and you're not speaking to people, I think you're crazy.
No, I do think you're right there that people, on furlough should be at least keeping their options open. What are your thoughts on the fact that, what's going to happen when furlough ends in potentially end of June? I think there's more chance of it ending at the end of June than people probably thought a month ago.
Well, so I actually, listening to some of your podcasts, trying to do my 5K best time round Tooting Common, I was just constantly thinking, what am I going to do? one of the things is, my ROI to my clients is not just about finding the candidates. I need to be adding value, constantly where I can. So, had an idea to do some webinars with clients, agencies in the sectors that I work in. They were really successful. I was so pleasantly surprised by how friendly everybody was. I had, especially on life science and digital, had 10, 11 agencies on each webinar, and it's people that were competing in the market, helping each other with the market, and that was one of the discussions. So some of the things that were spoken about in those first webinars were is there going to be a second wave of furlough? Because there was an initial big wave of furloughs, and then it was in May, June, is there going to be a second wave? There doesn't seem to be, which is good. So that's been good to see. But once the furlough finishes, you're definitely going to have definitely have people made redundant. It's going to happen. So those people on furlough, they don't know if it's going to be them or not. So definitely should be speaking to people like me. There were lots of things that came from those meetings. So I think probably where I can add value to your listeners for this 20-minute slot is just some of those things that we spoke about. So some of the directors that we spoke to, they were having real trouble with the mental health, especially of their top billers working from home, because they're struggling with the fact that there isn't anything they can do, skilled as they are. The cliff, things fell off a cliff, and so they mentioned that it's particularly their top billers that are at home that they're really struggling to help. They're the ones that are kind of struggling with their mental health. A lot of discussion was about how do you get, how do you clear your ledger? How do you get paid? You can't suddenly, you've got a client with 10 runners. You can't say, if you don't pay us, we're going to pull those contractors, because where else are you going to, morally, where are those contractors going to go? And you can't do that. So the general consensus was that most of them are speaking to their clients with a softly approach to see if actually they can get paid first. Because some of the agencies that were on those webinars had like 100 grand, some clients outstanding. So that's been a real tricky thing, and that was something that in the discussions there was no need for anybody to give anything away in terms of like advantages in the market. It was actually, that's how amazing is that they could all help each other with how to possibly get paid by their clients. So really glad I did it. When it comes to perms, some really good ideas about what you can do with. One of the ideas was, if you've usually got 20% with your clients, if they want to take someone from you, you do it at 2%, but 2% a month. So the client pays you 2% of that person's salary every month. So they've not got an initial outlay. And then if you think of it commercially, at the end of that year, it's 24% instead of 20. So some really good ideas like that to help their clients, but to still
it's basically turning your perm business into a contract revenue, isn't it?
Yeah. Kind of the payment terms have to be direct debit and things. So it's there's ways around it. I mean, so most of the clients I speak to after redundancies were on about 1/3 of their staff had been furloughed. I had some clients saying they were at 60, sometimes 40% of revenue compared to what they were expecting. Some at 15. I'd say on average it was about 25-30%. So people listening who are thinking, I wonder what everyone else is doing, and you want to compare. It's averaging about 25-30% that people were saying they're at. Big things about how do we go back. There's discussions about a German style of separating the office in half or into thirds, and people go back. That group goes in for 14 days. The next group goes in for 14 days. So there's a group of your office that are always self-isolating for 14 days as well, which is quite a good idea. One client talking about a color scheme, color rota. So a questionnaire to their workers to say things like, what do people that work in your house, what do they do for a living? Then essentially also, how do you feel about coming back? Putting each person upon their answers into a colour group, and then saying, okay, so reds, you're going to be Monday and Tuesday, blues, you're going to be, just so you've got the right people in together at the same time. lots of different. A bit the struggle. The tough thing with that is how do you if you ask one of your employees, will they come back into the office, and they don't want to because they're still scared. How do you deal with that? You can't tell them, or can you tell them that they have to come in, or it's a
I think if you've been able to operate for this long without them being there, you're going to have to give some grace to say, well, we carry on. For the people that don't want to be there, you've got to. My opinion would be to let people that don't want to go to work to stay at home, and they've got to work, but from home. I think the challenge is going to be the rookie generation. If you have a lot of trainees that are on furlough, and you decided not to let them go because you didn't want to, but bringing those guys back without the relevant structure and people around them could be tricky, because a trainee in an empty recruitment office is very different than a trainee in a lively recruitment. A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our second sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. The most innovative solution on the market, Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process, so from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show. A trainee in an empty recruitment office is very different than a trainee in a lively recruitment.
Yeah. Well, you've had the government. I feel like some people are going to essentially almost be agoraphobic. You've had the government scaring people to death for 2 months, saying don't leave. This is why, and then suddenly saying, okay, no, you can come in. It's people are going to be scared. So, without sounding like David Brent, I thought of an analogy last week around how the situation is. So if you think, the stat about all of the agencies within the UK.
I wasn't thinking about David Brent.
Yeah. So, I'll do that. Do the dance on it. 80% of all recruitment agencies were sub 10. Yeah. So if you think about the agencies that have maybe been affected the most, those sub 10 guys haven't really, because the overheads weren't as big. So if you then think you've got a lot of those agencies that you've had some on your show, that were 60, 70 that have gone down to 5. The analogy I was thinking was like a marathon. So if you think of all those sub 10 agencies were all the club runners and the sponsorship guys, and then the bigger agencies that were plus 10 were the professional runners. Picture when you're watching the marathon on TV and you see the start line and you see all of those people bunched up. Yeah, they're all the agencies. And if you then bunch back all those professional runners into that as well, how does that look? That's everyone bunched in, people that have now gone back to be a sub 10, so they're just a club running out, and then further to that, how do you go from a club runner to a professional runner? And that's before the race. You train hard, so people need to be training hard now, so that when the race starts, they can move ahead. So I just have that picture on TV of when the marathon, all those people just crammed in, ready to go at the start line. So
it's an interesting way of looking at it. I think I was fascinated by the fact that so many of the bigger boys, and not even bigger boys, the guys that are in that I call it like the challenger brand, you 50, 60, 70 heads, were quite quickly leveling out to the guys that were 10 to 20. And, everyone's on a very level playing field. Like the way you look at it at the start of the race, I guess I'm just like, for all the people that felt like they were smaller and they were competing, they've got an opportunity to level the playing field. And if
definitely,
and if I've always said it, that I think the work ethic of you and your team in this period has got to be number one. Like if you decide that it's going to beat you, it'll beat you. If you decide that you can impact every day with the work that you do, and it can't necessarily be about generating fees, and that's where the challenge comes in. Because normally, like you say, I can see that's exactly why a top biller will have a big problem, is that ego. I was a top biller, ego driven by your own consistency of hitting the board and that noise around your performance, to then, to add value to your clients without necessarily getting a fee in return for 2 to 3 months. Not only is that difficult for you to take, but then your bosses are looking at you as a cost that's not it puts a lot of stress on the whole situation. But the businesses that I think look long term and play a long game are the businesses that will survive better, because they're the ones I've always tried to work with and look for, because I think marketing is a long play. Like you can't start a brand and blow up the internet in 3 months. It's just not going to happen. You can make some amazing wins and dents, but you look at the way marketing filters down, it's a long play. It's a 2 to 3 year journey at least to start really cementing some exciting stuff. Whereas sales has always been a short play. Recruitment has been a very short play. But the brands that thought longer term, I think they're going to ride this out, or they have rode this out already much better.
Yeah. Personally, this is what I don't want to be crass, but this is actually an opportunity for me. Lots of competitors that I had within Rec2Rec, seeing them letting people go and furloughing people, that just brings them closer to me. And lots of clients and agencies that I deal with, and that also maybe the ones that I couldn't break into, I'm seeing they've sadly, because there's some really good ones, they've let their internal recruitment teams go. So it's essentially a vacuum for me to, Sean, I feel like a coiled spring, ready for this bounce. I've hopefully positioned myself as a bit of a thought leader with the webinars with my clients. I've got lots of candidates that I'm speaking to constantly. I've got lots of guys that haven't been furloughed or haven't been made redundant, and they're saying to me, if we come out of this and we go back to 5 days working core hours, 8 till 5, I'm calling you. So I
knew that. Would be the case.
Yeah.
Are you going to go back to the office being told what to do by your employer if you're late 20s, early 30s, and you've enjoyed the lifestyle you've had? Like, even look at you now with a young baby. Like, I imagine getting out of the house is quite motivating for you, but being out of the house to the point where you don't see the baby on somebody else's watch could be a very big demotivator, and you might not even realize it until you've had this kind of break.
Yeah, well, an example of that would be, I've been finding it tough, baby, work. Me and my girlfriend, we've got a garden and it's great, but we go to the park as well. And we had a little moment the other day where we just looked at each other, and, little baby, she's 14 months, she's trying to chase dogs around, shouting "doo-doo," and the sun was shining, and we just had a bit of a cuddle and said that this is going to be one of the most amazing times we've ever had, and look how happy she is. And there's been, that's, around mental health, it's not something that I've kind of never really affected me, but we worked back and realised the other day actually that on Mondays I've been a shit. Like, even though everything's been mashed together and you don't really have weekends and days, if we worked it back, and on Mondays I was not good to deal with. I think it was just the whole, here we go, it's tough again, and just feeling it at home. So yeah, that was something that I'd never thought about really, and that it's come to the fore with what's been happening. So
what sectors are showing activity now? I think obviously people will speculate, but you're in the know-how. So where is the most activity? You don't have to name names of companies, but what sectors are recruiters? If anyone recruiters are looking or thinking of looking, what sectors are the type are hot now?
For me, it's life science. I made a lot of placements. I'll be honest. So, like I was saying to you before this started, I started in, when someone says "I'll be honest," usually means they're not going to be. But
No offense.
But in May last year, I had to Google life science. No idea what life science was. I had to Google it. And then last year, I'm nearly just close being the sector that I made the most placements in. So I know what a good recruiter is. I know what questions to ask a recruiter. So, but luckily, I've built up some really good relationships with clients within life science. So yeah, that's where I've picked up roles this week in HR, education, AI, robotics, like different. There's definitely stuff coming through this week. So yeah,
awesome.
there's bits out there.
What's a guy who's got a background in construction and all the different markets doing setting up a Rec2Rec? Like, why have you done that?
I did not want to be managed or manage anymore. I had 11 years at the same agency, very loyal. Came to the point where I was disillusioned. Wanted to do something else. Didn't want to work in the sectors really that I've been working in. I didn't want to go and be a rookie tech consultant somewhere. That's not for me. So I said this to you before we went on. Here's wanky comment coming up, but Rec2Rec is not difficult. It's not actually that hard. Analogy might be that if a scientist decides to do life science recruitment, they know the sector, so they're amazing at that. They've just got to learn how to do recruitment. Well, I don't have to learn the sector. I know recruitment, and I know how to do recruitment. So the best advice I got from anyone when I was asking friends was, you might not want to hear this part. It is important later on, but just they said to me, forget about at first branding and do you have to have this in place, that in place. Just get on the phone and make deals. So I've only ever put $3,000 into my business at the beginning. That's it. And I did a placement after 3 weeks.
I put 1,500 quid into Hoxo. Look, I'm not someone who says spend loads on your branding. I think your brand is important early doors, but when you're in an industry where you can pick up the phone and generate revenue early, why wouldn't you start with that? I mean, it makes sense.
But branding is very important. Then as you go on, I totally understand it. Something that really helped me actually early doors. People may have seen it on LinkedIn, but I didn't want to do the usual Rec2Rec golf day football tournament. So I did the Great British Recruitment Agency Bake Off. So I had 10 agencies in a Bake Off competition in a tent that's in Southwest London, which is exactly like the TV series.
Really?
And on the build up to that, each agency had to invite me into the office, and they did an internal competition. So I was in inverted commas judge, and I got really fat eating the cakes. But I then posted those visits onto my LinkedIn, so it gave me some exposure. It gave my clients exposure. I don't mind telling people who a lot of my clients are. Anyone else can ring them up. Some of them had people approach them from that, and I'm absolutely cool with that. I'm not going to be charging for that. It was fine, but I had a couple of weeks after that, people calling me Bake Off Boy when I phoned them and stuff, which is better than Big Fish Boy, I guess. But it's really important. And I have so many things planned for this year which have been put on hold. Like everyone, I've got so many ideas running through my mind and things we were going to implement that we just had to hold off on. So, but we'll be doing them. Definitely.
Very good. What have you learned most about yourself in this lockdown?
Oh, wow. Just that I always knew that I was quite a positive person, but in the worst thing that's happened to us since World War II, I seem to be able to find positives everywhere. That's a trait I'd always be looking for when I start to think about bringing partners in and employing people. It's not. I don't mean coming in lycra dressed like Mr. Motivator and jumping around and everything's positive. And there's a couple of guys that I work with. We think it's funny that if you ever speak to a recruiter and say how you doing, they always say it's going great. Well, it can't be going great for everyone. Everyone says it's going great. But it's just I've just been positive, and I think it's helped me massively.
I love that. One thing I've learned is that in this pandemic, I don't think it's about myself necessarily moving forward, but I found the conversations in work much easier than the conversations outside of work. And the reason is there's just more stuff going on in the recruitment market to talk about. Whereas when I ring my mum and it's the same chat every time. How have you been? She whinges about the fact that there's a queue at Lidl and that she's she's going stir crazy now. And I don't blame her. Like, she's had a tough time because we lost my uncle. But it's the same chat. And, you know, you ring your brothers up. And you don't really want to talk about your own job. They don't want to talk about their job. So it's like, yeah, I'm all right. Not much on Netflix. No football.
Yeah.
And it is like, even your mates, but your colleagues, and like my wife, she's quite busy at work. So we've bounced off each other a lot. But I found that keeping busy in the market has been a real sanity check for me. Revenue wise hasn't been like, you know, we've not gone up, we've gone down, but
everyone has, but anyone is different. I
mean, I think there's certain businesses that might have, like, you know, video platforms have probably gone up, and there's certain things that have gone up, but on the whole everyone's revenue's down. I've spent more time on this podcast than ever before. I've loved it. It's always been my favorite thing to do in the week, and now I get to do it every day, and I don't think I can step back from that now.
You've been doing lots of quizzes.
Yeah, do you know what? I've not been on enough quizzes. I've only been on a couple, and I'm not very good at them. I've worked that out.
I told a couple of clients about this, so they can use it with their, you know, quizzes they do with their staff members, and it was really good the other day. So one of the rounds on the quiz where a family member went through everyone's Facebook going back 10 years and got lots of old comments, and then read out the comments and said, whose comment is this from Facebook? And it was good. There was some so I didn't realise how angry I was about X Factor, you know, 10 years ago. So that's a good idea for a round in the quiz. You can have that one.
Yeah, I'll take that. Right, well, look, that we'll round off on that. Get on your quiz, get on your Facebook, and you could even take, like, obscure photos. You could be like, who was this? Because there's so much shit that went on in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
I was traveling Asia back in 2011, and everything was on Facebook. So, please don't have a look. But look, thanks, mate. I appreciate you taking the time out. Cool. I'm hoping people reach out to you as a result of this, whether you're a recruitment owner and you're impressed by what you've heard with Craig and you're wanting to find talent, or you're a recruiter and you're interested in the chat about the market. You're open, even if there's no business-related benefit, you're still open to a conversation, I imagine, yeah?
Probably about 80, I would say 80%, probably about 50% of my day has been talking to people about the market. So, yeah, candidates on furlough, clients that might be looking for people, guys that are thinking about, there's lots of people in their bedroom now that have been working from home that are thinking about starting up. We're thinking about where I can add value. I've just done it, and I didn't spend a lot doing it, and I can help people with that as well. So yeah, I'm open.
Craig, you're a legend, mate. Thank you so much, and I'd love to have you back on and do the full rag episode when we're back to normal.
Yeah. Well, have you used that bit of kit I asked you to use to make me sound less common though? Have you used that?
No, unfortunately not. No, I don't think there's no kit available, I'm afraid. But look, thanks so much, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you for everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. As always, I ask for one thing. I don't want any money to listen. I want you to share the show. Get it out to more people. Together, we're going to come through this a lot stronger. It might be that half an hour message that someone needs to pick themselves up and have a better day, better week, and feel good. I'll be back again with another episode very, very soon. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.